Well, good morning, guys. I guess the question is, what have I got to talk about today? And the answer is, not bloody much. But anyway, regardless, it's a Mk5 Mondeo rear wheel bearing. And believe me, the only reason I'm talking about this boring subject is because I don't think anybody else has actually covered this on YouTube. So I reckon I'm in pole position. So this is it. The passenger rear wheel bearing hub assembly, complete with disc, caliper carrier and lower suspension arm. Before I go any further, let me just explain something. There must be at least 80 odd Mk5 Mondeos here being used as taxi cabs. We started buying these in 2015 and some of these cars have done over 250,000 miles now, like they've been to the bloody moon and back. And not once have I ever replaced a rear wheel bearing. I've done a few front ones, but never a rear one. No trouble whatsoever they've been. So, why the hell have I got a rear wheel bearing here today? Well, I don't actually want the rear wheel bearing. I bought the suspension arm because I wanted the lower arm for a specific reason, which I'll show you in a minute. The arm happened to come from the scrapyard, still connected to the hub and the wheel bearing. So I thought, you know what, I may as well just take the wheel bearing off this hub, because I've got to do that anyway, because I need the arm, well, I don't need the bearing. So I thought I'd make a video of how to change this rear wheel bearing. I just thought it might be a little bit interesting. So, I will carry on. So first things first, let's talk about this suspension arm. There are two bushes on this bottom arm, which actually one here and one here, and they both connect into the rear subframe. This bush at the back is quite a big solid one, but this one here, it actually moves about quite a bit. I don't know exactly what the bush is made of or what's inside there, but there's one particular car on this fleet that is squeaking really, really badly, and this bush is causing that squeak. And when I say squeaking, I mean squeaking. I'm telling you, people on the sidewalk are literally turning around and staring at this car as it goes past them. It is that loud. It is the most horrendous squeaky, creaking noise you could ever hear on a car. So what I've done on the car, actually, just until I get this arm fitted, I cut a little slot in the boot and I squirted some oil in there, and it seemed to shut it up for a little while. But I'm sure it's going to start squeaking again. So I've actually purchased this whole arm just to change the bush. Because the two inner bushes on that suspension arm, they come with the arm when you buy it new from Ford. You can't, well, they tell me you can't buy the bushes separate. You've got to buy the whole arm. And you're looking at, I think it's something like £140 plus the VAT to buy the arm. It's like quite a bit of money. Just for, really, it's only because you need a bush. I wouldn't actually like to replace them bushes anyway without a special tool to do it. But regardless of that, I can't do it because you've got to buy the arm. So we thought we'd go to the scrapyard, buy a second-hand arm and just put it on the car. And as you've already seen, this arm has come with the rear wheel bearing still on it, which is a bonus. So I'm now going to remove this rear wheel bearing. So if you're a Mk5 owner and you ever get a rear wheel bearing to change, which you probably won't, you'll know how anyway because I'm putting it here on YouTube. So there we go. Let's get on with it. I'll tell you what though, this entire rear suspension setup, it's quite advanced, you know. There's, you know, the amount of links and bars on it, it's like flipping heck. It's quite a fancy setup. I guess all this contributes to giving you a nice, smooth, comfortable ride. You know, I'm not sure if this ABS sensor wire comes separate to the bearing. I don't know. But I'm just going to leave it connected up anyway. First things first. Pair of gloves. Right, so obviously you'd have to take your wheel off to change this hub. But also, your brake caliper, which is going to sit here, you'd have to unbolt that and move that to one side. And your rear brake caliper is literally held on by a spring clip and two 7mm Allen key screws. If you were going to change your brake pads at the same time, you would need to put your brake calipers into service mode. normally using a scan tool or something like that. But that is another, I'll actually show you how to do that in another video, which you can find here. So we've moved your brake caliper out of the way. The next step is to take this caliper carrier out of the way, and it's two 15mm bolts. I'm going to whack these out of an air gun just to get it done quicker. And obviously once them bolts are out, this will just slide straight off. Now the brake disc, it might be a bit tight on the hub. So you can either tap it off with a hammer or like a soft mallet. But if you don't want to do that, there's a little hole here for threading it. And you can put a bolt in there, which will sort of like pull it off. You see that's threaded in there. So I can screw this bolt in. And then just give it a good few screws in. It might be a little bit tight, but that bolt is now pushing against the hub and actually winding the disc off, which is pretty handy. There she goes. That's come off a bit pissed at the minute, so I'm going to undo this bolt again and take it out and just, that's free now. That's a good idea for getting stuck discs off hubs. So that'll just wriggle straight off. Done. Before I go any further, the actual little bits of the threads that you can see on these 4 bolts that are holding this wheel bearing hub to this knuckle assembly, they look a bit rusty to me, so I'm gonna try and get a wire brush in there and clean them up, because we don't want them threads going through there and getting stuck and causing problems. So, yeah, get that in there. Don't breathe in the dust because it goes everywhere. Put a face mask on if you can. But yeah, get them threads as clean as you possibly can first. And then it wouldn't hurt just to put a little drop of freeing oil on them threads. It will probably help them, because if they're tight going out, they're going to get hot. And the hotter they get, if they start binding, they could strip. So a little bit of oil on these might make all the difference between getting them out and not. Now these 4 15mm bolts, you've got to take into consideration you're going to have the coil spring sat here. You're also going to have the shock absorber sat here as well. So you might struggle getting an air gun and a bar in there. So you might have to go in through this way just with a bar and undo these. And if they're tight, it could take a little while to get these bolts out. Lucky for me, this is off the car, so I'm going to use an air gun. It makes life a lot easier. Well, I'll tell you what, they come out really easily. In actual fact, there is only a very small amount of thread lock on these threads, and it didn't cause any sort of like problems unwinding it. I can pretty much guarantee that this hub is actually welded itself into this knuckle assembly, and it's not going to come off easily. So what I suggest here is to wind a couple of these bolts back in. Maybe if I put 3 of them back in, wind them on a good fair old way, because we're going to hit the end of these bolts with a hammer. Right, so I'm going to give these a whack and see if we can move this hub. That's gone. Now I can just whack these bolts back out again, and we shouldn't have damaged the threads tapping them, because I didn't really hit them that hard. Plus I had the threads wound into the hub quite a way. So that's all worked out rather well. And now our wheel bearing hub assembly just pulls out. See, there's quite a lot of crap around there where it was seizing into this knuckle assembly. And there you go, one rear wheel bearing. I'll tell you something, that feels nice and smooth. But like I've already said, I've never ever had to change one of these rear bearings. they seem to last ever so well. And if you are going to fit a new bearing back in this knuckle assembly, I strongly suggest getting a wire brush in there and cleaning out all the crap, because it does build up, and it might be worth putting a bit of grease around here so the new bearing goes in nice and easily and it doesn't corrode up so quickly. Yeah, that's better. That's looking better already. I won't bang on too much, but if you are fitting a new bearing back into this knuckle assembly, the ABS sensor and wire, it only fits in one particular position, so you have to get that right. And actually this sensor on the passenger rear is facing like the front of the car, where it's nearest towards the front of the car, so that would go like in the hub this way. I don't know if this ABS wire comes with a new bearing. I'm getting the feeling it doesn't, but it's a THANX 25 screw there. So I'm going to take this screw out and just see what we've got. So get that out of the way. And that's actually already falling out. So yeah, you've just got like a hole in there which doesn't even go through to the bearing. It must just sense it through the casing. So that's it. One completely sealed rear wheel bearing hub assembly. And that's how you would buy it, as one complete lump. It's actually a good thing these bearings last a bloody long time. I don't know if they do aftermarket ones cheap yet, but if you went to Ford to buy one of them rear bearings, it's going to cost you just over £200 plus VAT. Right then, that's me done. I've now officially removed a rear wheel bearing on a Mk5 Mondeo. Well, technically it wasn't on the car, but it's, you know what I mean. But hey, if any of you guys out there have had to replace a rear wheel bearing, let me know, because they just seem to last so well in these cars. Actually, the rear bearings on these Mk5s seem to be one item that does seem to last, surprisingly enough. But that's it. I told you it was a boring subject, but hey, they can't all be winners, can they? Anyway guys, that's it. Till the next time. See ya. Hang on a minute. Aren't I forgetting something? For my next trick, let's get these freaking gloves off. I need to pop into the office and see my mate, Mrs. Monica. So come here, camera. Right, in the office we go. Da da da. Mrs. Murray.
Hello?
I don't want to drag you off your work or anything. I can see how busy you are.
I'm always busy.
I know, but hey, don't worry about that. Would you mind holding this camera?
No?
Because I need a camera woman.
Do you?
Please.
And I'm the best woman for the job.
You certainly are.
Okay.
Thank you.
God.
Mrs. Monica. Da, 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 da. Do you know, Marie? Come in here with the camera. Come on, this is an important occasion. Do you know why I'm in here today? Do you?
No.
Right. Our channel has got more than 10,000 subscribers. Woo! I just want to say a great big thank you to all you guys out there who subscribe to this channel, because it's taken a long time to get to this, and it will take a long time for me to get to 100,000. I might not be alive by then. Anyway, Mrs. Monica, the second thank you is to you for your participation.
You're welcome.
I know I bully you into getting these videos done, but hey, we've had a lot of laughs along the way.
True.
Okay. Do you enjoy making videos? I've never asked you that actually.
No.
She's a liar! Anyway, once again guys, seriously though, thank you to everyone who subscribes to this channel. It's all been worth it. Without you guys out there, it's meaningless. So thank you once again. And for the second time today, see ya!